It's a topic that, while it's broad and perhaps has broad implications for the region, it's also very personal, very passionate for some folks. We'll hear from them coming up in the show. But first, to start us off in the studio, Brian Feldt from the St. Louis Business Journal has been covering this very topic. How would you describe the Uber entrance, or maybe an attempt to enter the St. Louis market?
I would say it's similar to the way they've entered other cities, and it's, I would say, aggressive. They've actually prided themselves on being an aggressive company. This is a startup that is cool with young people. It's new, it's got the backing of Google, and they're aggressive in how they come into markets, and they demand a lot. They want the regulations to fit to what they want and how they want to enter a city, and so I think aggressive would be a good way to put it.
And has it worked in most cases? Did they get their way?
Well, certainly they're in a lot of big cities around the country. Now, Uber, with the way they entered St. Louis, they came in and they started talking about what type of regulations they needed. They don't think that they should be regulated as a taxi company because they don't own any cars. They don't actually have any employees. So they come in and they say what they need, and it's been messy, it's been contentious, there's been name calling, and it looks like it's starting to come to more of a resolution, or at least becoming more clear.
Some news on that on Thursday. Catch us up to speed. The MTC, Metropolitan Taxi Commission, are they making concessions? What did you make of Thursday's news?
Yeah, there's been a little bit more than a dozen points that Uber wanted the MTC to consider and to revise in their code. I think they've already come to terms, or at least said that they can make happen on about a dozen of them. There remain three key issues. One was insurance, the other was fingerprint testing, and the other was drug testing. Now, insurance seems like it'll probably be something that it will get resolved. The MTC today, or Thursday, came out and said that they think that they could probably get past drug testing too. In other words, not letting Uber drivers submit to drug tests. But it does appear that the third issue, the fingerprint background checks, which for the MTC are performed by the FBI and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, is going to be a sticking point. From what I'm hearing from Uber, they are saying that that is, could be a deal breaker in terms of them not applying for a TNC license, a Transportation Network Company license, that will let them do business here. What
do you hear from the business community, or the startup community, or the tech community, if we don't get Uber? Does it matter?
There's different camps. There are a lot of business people who probably still don't really exactly know what Uber are, and so they haven't taken a stance. But the people that are familiar with technology, people that are on their iPhones a lot, almost all of them know about Uber, and most of them had said, yeah, we would be better off with Uber. They've said, we're having trouble, or we could foresee having trouble luring talent here to St. Louis if they come in, get out of the airport and say, wait, what, you don't have Uber here? How am I supposed to get around? A lot of these people, may not have cars, or they would rather walk, or they want that form of transportation.
And I gather these tactics, the aggressiveness, has worked in most places. What's their success rate, or what's their reputation?
Well, Uber's been met with resistance almost everywhere they've gone. There were just riots in France, overturned cars and cars on fire. They've broken through, and cities have essentially given in to their demands and have made regulations that form to Uber, and therefore they're in those cities. Now, that's not exactly where we're at in St. Louis right now, but in many other cities they have formed to help Uber.
So the MTC here locally, they're not alone. There's a precedent for a fight against Uber, to say the least, from a regulatory standpoint.
Yes and no. They're not alone in that they've resisted changing their bylaws and their codes to Uber. But then again, Uber is in a lot of other cities right now, and they're not in St. Louis.
They like to say this is the largest city without Uber, perhaps maybe the largest metro area. You hear that when you talk to Uber as well.
Yeah, certainly that's a sticking point that they like to talk about, and certainly St. Louis is among one of the biggest cities that doesn't have Uber, and they like to tout that.
Brian Feldt, thank you for your time. But stick around. We'd like to have you back at the end of the show. We also had the opportunity to talk to a representative from Uber. They've been in and out of town, as you know. So this time we actually caught them via Google Hangout. Here's what the folks at Uber had to say about St. Louis.